feel at plus our curates like really 21 things. So we all right.
Plus, I want to plug my current Kickstarter.
Oh yeah.
Oh god,
maybe.
yeah, man, do that.
Yeah. you got something going on there, Greg? Yeah.
Clearly, I have not done a great job of promoting it if y'all aren't on it.
I'm on it. I backed it. Yeah.
Okay.
Geez.
But you
I'm waiting to get some money from Ross.
I just remembered. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have backed so many Kickstarters. It's my Kickstarter email folder is very large. Anyways, looks like we already have some viewers out there. So hello, welcome to Ludonarrative Dissidents season 3 Kickstarter the season 3 live stream, our first of a monthly live stream that we'll be doing for at least a year. And hello, V. V is from Queen Courts Games, who's done some stuff with RPPR. V is in our Warhammer 40k Imperium Maledictum camping, the Indius Mandate right now. And then one of our own listeners, hello, for Release Days podcast.
It's the Release Days, who I game with semi-regularly, and we'll hopefully be seeing in the very near future.
V and I did the Unknown Armies live play of Thunderhead Mesa.
Oh I heard about that.
Which was super fun.
Yeah,
but you didn't listen to it. You don't spend your days listening to.
I record and edit so many podcasts. I literally do more than I listen to podcasts. I'm like Garth Marenghi of podcasts.
It's Ross is like a surgeon who spends all day in surgery and then just doesn't want to go home and carve the turkey.
Yes, exactly. It's so much. Here is a link to the Kickstarter. Greg is an incredibly talented writer. All of his stuff has been amazing. And I'm definitely going to enjoy reading this. So hello, Dimitri. Hello, everyone else. So we'll have links again to the are in the comments right now, and we'll put links pop them up every once in a while. But yeah, we were season 3. Yay, we did it. We funded. Thank you all so much. And we have
thank you so much. It's 5-figure Kickstarter. That's not nothing.
Yeah. And we have so many episodes to do. We have quite a few episodes to do.
That's why
right now we're in the fun part where where we're looking at the money and not looking at the effort of our homework. So and if we were gonna pick something to read homeworkily, game books, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah, it's true.
We could be running a podcast where we critically examine books that were written by prominent Tories.
Oh no.
And James would just be barfing, and the two of us would be like, wait, what does this mean? This feels like you guys had this great healthcare system and then you just parted it out for the copper. That can't be right.
I mean,
pretty much. Apparently Liz Truss's book is really funny if you can forget the fact that she was actually prime minister for a while.
I mean, if you can find it too. Apparently, it's sold so few copies that it's
okay.
There are RPGs that have
So. But no, in the UK for a non-fiction title, 2,000 copies in your first week is pretty good. It's not as the book was everywhere. It was wallpapered across. TV and radio. It was very difficult to move without being exposed to it. So only 70 copies is not great on that level. But I know fiction publishers who'll be going, what do you mean 2,000 copies is a failure?
I do know in America a lot of those right-wing books that come out are just bought in bulk by think tanks and those kind of organizations. Anyway, but we should probably talk about role-playing games.
We should talk about games. Yes. Politics,
escapism.
Yes, escapism. Yes, from such happy things as So we just cosmic horrors and Cthulhu and mind-shattering evils. Escapism these days. I calculated. I entered closed the poll on Wednesday or and calculated all the votes. And basically, if you voted a book as your number one choice, that would get 6 points. And then we'll go to your number 6 choice would get 1 point, and everything 7 through 12 would get 0 points. So I calculated all those points. So every choice you made from 1 through 6 mattered. And we have our winners, and I double checked the figures to make sure I didn't enter in anything. I had to remember some stuff about how to do spreadsheets and Excel to calculate that stuff. So that was fun. But I did it. So we should probably start with our core books, because that is
those are going to be the long ones.
Yeah, those are going to. Well, I mean, there's a supplement that we're going to do that's pretty long, at least one. But our first choice, I'll just go ahead and put it up on here, is I don't think not too many people are going to be surprised by this. Our number one core role-playing book is going to be Heart, The City Beneath.
Oh, yeah.
People really wanted us to talk about this. I am not surprised at all by this. I ran a campaign of this for Role-Playing Public Radio. It's a big surprise. Yeah. And Grant Howard is a talented writer, and it should be a lot of fun.
And Chris, I believe.
Yeah.
The other thing we should say right at the top is this is not necessarily the order in which we are going to be doing these episodes. These are merely the order in which, I don't know if this is the order they came up in the votes, but
this is the order they come up in the votes in terms of like highest points to those points. So
we'll just do them in the order we feel like.
Yeah. Well, there'll be some schedule. I know Hart got like 310 points. When the next up, our number 2 got 290 points. And do you want to take our list?
They say there's no winning in role. There's no winners in role playing.
Yeah, game. It's a popularity contest, baby.
Always has been.
I don't know. It's click.
I think it's a suggestion for the drinking game. There is, whatever Ross says. Oh, I've GM'd a campaign of that. People can take a drink.
Yeah. All right.
And then it'll be, James Wallace drops a name and Greg fulminates against the future conditional, which I just spotted in the blurb for Heart, which doesn't make me happy. So I'm toughening up. Okay, Brindlewood Bay.
Yes,
Brindlewood Bay. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, actually, this published by the Gauntlet, written by Jason Cordova. Jason actually ran a game of Trophy Dark for us on our RBBR, and I've not played this. However, I have played Public Access, which uses the same system as Brindlewood Bay.
Is this the one where detectives have smokes that they can trade for clues, or is that a different?
I don't know. I haven't read
Brindlewood Bay is Murder She Wrote. It's your pensioners solving crime, as I recall.
Yes. The interesting thing about this system is you don't actually, there's technically no mystery to solve. What you do is collaboratively look for clues and their dangers and role playing as you pick up clues. But when you gain enough clues, you can make a roll to say, this is what I think is the mystery. This is who I think the killer is. And you make a roll. And if you're successful, your theory is right. So it seems very similar to things like Trail of Cthulhu and Call of Cthulhu, which are interpreting clues and figuring out who's playing.
It's unstructured. It's a Rorschach blot.
Yeah.
Sweet. I've often thought that I've never had the guts to do a mystery this way, but I can, in my heart, it feels like it should work.
It does work. It's a very different dynamic because as the GM, you don't like say, aha, here's the secret. It's like, okay, you create a list. Yeah, it's a very different dynamic. So I'm really interested to see how this system works. By
the way, from the comments, Kniet, future conditional 3 minutes in. Yeah, in this wager, the low ball always wins.
All right.
Also, Callum has just offered to run a session of it for me. So yes, I will take you up on that.
This is our number 3 choice. Alice is Missing, which is again another well, I wouldn't say experimental, but definitely something that pushes the form of what is a role playing
non-traditional role.
Yeah, non-traditional.
A daughter named Alice who wears a jeans jacket who has long hair and wears a jeans jacket with a sheepskin collar. I find this artwork disturbing.
Does she communicate only by text message? Because that's the game.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
So, yeah, this is something you do within 90 minutes, and instead of speaking, you send text messages. But I do believe there are cards, and so you have to play it in the same room, ideally. Yeah, it's a very interesting game, and something I'm definitely looking forward to reading. This is something I've wanted to play anyway. So, again, another game I have not played. So,
when Ross says I've played a campaign of this, you take a drink. When he says I really want to play this, you take a sip.
Yeah. There we go. And let's see here. We are doing. I'm just taking the top Google link for everything. By the way, so our next one is going to be.
You didn't have 18 tabs lined up.
I didn't have 18 tabs lined. I am a horrible monster. I'm horribly unprepared. Anyways, we're doing Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, which is the current edition, I believe.
Oh, 5th. Okay, I was going to ask which one we're doing.
I figure our default would be, outside of a curated episode, to do the most recent edition, the one that's still in print or still most easily available to people. I mean, in the case of Traveler, that was difficult because there were two multiple editions. So
no, I was going to pull out my copy of Vampire first printing of Vampire the Masquerade 1st edition, which has the worst column balance.
Is that the one with the mime on the back?
I think
Could
so.
be. Give me a second. My headphone cord doesn't stretch too far.
I think I know the one you're talking about. I think that's the one I started with too. Yeah,
I didn't get a copy of Vampire until the Green Book when I was working on the line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, since you've actually written for Vampire, it'd be very interesting. You've not worked on this edition though, have you? Since 2018?
Not 5th, no.
Yeah. So it'll be very.
Hold on. It's hard to keep straight. Hold on.
Yeah. What's on the back cover? Let's take a look at that. So there's a front cover. Yeah.
No mime on the back cover, but very 90s Photoshop embossing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just broke the spine on it. It survived this long. I just broke the spine. But if you can see that great artwork, but those columns, Nicole Lindris did the Nicole Lindris Pramas, as she is now, did all the layout of that in a tearing hurry and would finish up late at night, go to bed, because it was I think were they all in a shared house at the time? I think they were the designers.
And I did
come down in the morning to find that designers unnamed would have come down in the middle of the night and rewritten part of the manuscript without telling other designers that they had done it. Nicole's anecdotes. I dropped a name. I'm so sorry. Nicole's anecdotes about the creation of Vampire are absolutely great.
So there it is. We're 10 minutes in. You've had the trifecta. You should be feeling your buzz. And I did. I worked on Blood Sigils, and that was 5th edition. So I've got a 5th edition in my in PDF somewhere. I'm like, should I buy this in the big doorstop edition? We'll find out. Cyberpunk Raya.
Yes, this is the newest edition. Certainly, I've not played even the video game, and I've only played a few sessions of Cyberpunk back in the day. So this will be a setting I've not spent a lot of time in. So I'm really curious to see how it looks now. Yeah,
they had to do a new version of Cyberpunk since the old one came true.
Yeah. Had to things are wireless now too. Back in the days where you had to jack in, plug an Ethernet cord into your brain. But looking forward to that. And then I believe let's take a look, double check. This is actually Cyberpunk Red is I'm looking forward to reading about it to see what it's changed from what I remember. But and it's also another one of these game lines that have just stood the test of time. And there's not a lot of them, but
1989 the first edition, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, then we have a generic, well, not a universal system, Savage Worlds, which is a game I'm running right now. I'm running Savage Rifts, which is the Palladium Rift system in Savage Worlds, and it actually makes it playable and fun because it's not the Palladium system. Savage Worlds is a really interesting system because it has some player agency in terms of like betting points, which are like a meta currency similar to fate points. But on the other hand, characters have 3 wounds. And so, and you can take all 3 wounds in a single really bad attack. So characters are actually surprisingly fragile. Because dice explode. So you could, especially even on damage checks, you could just like get hit once and just blow up. There's a lot of different settings for it. Has a lot of support for third-party setting creation and stuff like that. So quite interesting. Also, I want to remind everybody before we go on too much further that if you're a member of our Discord, that you can vote on our community curated episode, which will end 24 hours from the end of this live stream. And let's see, I'll put a link here in the comments. And so if you look in our season thread, there's a thread there. One of our backers, Kvetch, is very generous and is allowing the community to vote.
Hugely generous.
Yes, hugely generous. Yes, insanely generous. And so there's a vote for the community to curate an episode. And or episodes, I think. And so vote on what you want to do right now. Dogs in the Vineyard is winning, which will be an interesting episode to go over. But we also have other, I think it's the top 2 or 3 episodes we're gonna be doing. I forgot exactly what the breakdown was off the top of my head, but there are the current top 6 for the Discord list are Dogs in the Vineyard, Cults of Praxis, which is a RuneQuest supplement, one of the most influential supplements.
Prax, I think, not Praxis.
Oh, Prax, yeah, sorry.
Cults of Praxis, I would read that.
Then Swords of the Serpentine, which is fantasy gumshoe, which is certainly very intriguing. Then Tatooine Manhunt, which is a West End Star Wars adventure.
Classic. That's Janelle Jacquet's. That was her big Star Wars one. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Great.
Yeah, very intrigued.
See, I'm still stuck on Cults of Praxis and just want to have people who are clerics of communism. It's by the chains of Marx, I bind you. The proletariat compels you. The proletariat compels you.
I did see a paladin
can come not in that form.
I did see someone do a paladin of the working class for 5th Ed D&D a couple years ago, which was amusing. Then Tenra Bansho Zero, which is a Japanese RPG translated into English. And then another Japanese RPG, Rutama, which is a self-described Miyazaki Studio Ghibli / Oregon Trail RPG. So so join our Discord and go to the season 3 channel, look up that thread and vote. But those are going to be our 6 core games, but we have adventures too.
But wait, there's more. Don't order yet.
And I don't think it is going to be anybody surprised what number 1 is.
Hey James, do they have "Don't Wait"? But wait, there's more in England.
It's not such a thing because we didn't have infomercials like that in quite the same way. But there are adverts that will go, but all this and so the same. We get it basically. It's not one of those things we get because we've picked up. It's not like I've fallen and I can't get up, which was exclusively American, but the British people picked up on it because they saw American people doing it. We are familiar with the trope in its original.
It's something British people picked up because they saw American people doing it, like charging for healthcare ridiculously.
Oh no!
Sorry, I'm back on this. But we've got convergence.
Yes.
So it's all right. Do you know if they've changed this at all, or is this the same
they have
conversion?
updated it? I have not read the update of this one yet. I have read the update of Puppet Shows and Shadows Plays, which actually changes pretty not substantially, but like significant changes. So like Convergence was in the original Delta Green Call of Cthulhu campaign setting book published back in 1997, I believe. The original, the OG Delta Green. So this is like a lot of people's first experience with Delta Green. It's in fact considered sort of like one of the big starter scenarios, like convention con scenarios. You can do it in 4 hours. And Conversion, of course, is not necessarily a great campaign start because it's also extremely lethal. If you can make some decisions that absolutely kill your characters. It is not the most lethal Delta Green scenario, but that's not saying a whole lot. Because
shout out Artifact Zero.
I was just thinking that, yeah, Artifact Zero is like the Tomb of Horrors of Delta Green, which is saying a lot. Yeah,
it's the only one that's managed to get larger than a TPK. We're not sure how this is possible, but due to temporal folding, a number of player characters died twice.
I actually killed another player characters while trying to rescue them. Yeah. Convergence is that kind of scenario. So this is going to be a lot of fun to talk about that.
Was this the Proto Matter one, or is that Puppet Shows and Shadow Plays?
This is the Proto Matter one. Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, okay. Puppet Shows has the it's not Proto Matter. It's a different thing.
It's the skin dude, right? Was that Puppet Shows and Shadow Plays?
Have you seen the autopsy episode of Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities?
Yes.
Or Michael? Yes, it's that. That's Puppet Shows. All right,
got it.
And then let's see.
You two are having too much fun with
good
this.
episode.
Yeah. Let's see.
Thanks, Guillermo del Toro.
And you might be familiar with this one, Greg.
Might I?
You might. I don't know.
My boy.
This is the Dapsion. Yeah, well, actually, since there's multiple versions of Jailbreak.
Yes, that's the LARP adaptation.
Okay. This is the top one that came up in.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Drive-through RPG. So,
that one's free as well. You don't want that one coming up top.
Yeah,
you want the one you get royalties on.
It's true. So we'll figure out which version we'll actually talk about.
Break this to you, James, but you can't buy a cup of coffee with a dime anymore.
Oh, no.
You get enough dimes.
That's true.
Hey man, I make 20p on a copy of Once Upon a Time. Actually, it's slightly more now, but I used to make 20p.
Well, we'll find it out. But
it's sold a third of a million copies. I do okay.
I'm now picturing, John Nephew knocking on your door with just this giant bag of frozen peas. This should do it.
No. All right, and then James might be a little familiar with this next one.
Yellow Clearance, Black Box Blues, absolute stone classic. John M. Ford, Hugo or Nebula award-winning writer, the guy who wrote The Dragon Waiting, which is, if you haven't read it, you absolutely should. Is his paranoia adventure. It's all, for me, so many of the human role-playing games discussions should start and probably end at this point. It's funny to read, it's funny to play, it's godlike. Small G. It's just a delight. It's an absolute delight. It's a template.
Do you like it, James?
It's all right.
Is this what you English people call a bit of all right, then?
No, that would be something entirely different.
Jailbreak is
something every day.
Definitely one that requires a large group of players.
That's less true than you might think. There's a reason where it's like, okay, if you have a smaller group, assign this one, this one, this one, and this one first, because those are like the maximum conflict characters, and then everyone else sort of is in a position where they can do really interesting interactions with the maximum conflict characters.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah. Again, I've read Jailbreak years ago, but I'm not actually played or run it. So I'm really, I feel like I'm going to be running a lot of these adventures for RPPR that I haven't already.
You could do worse.
I mean,
I've run Jailbreak tons and tons and tons of times.
Oh, sure.
At conventions, never had a bad session.
Ooh, it's high praise. Yeah. But our next adventure is going to be Gradient Descent from Mothership, which is a Mothership, if you're not familiar, is its taglines are a blue collar sci-fi horror, which is basically means aliens, Outland, anything that in that era of science fiction where the people in the spaceships were workers, not brave astronauts or scientists. And it's sort of making a comeback recently with the new Alien movies and that kind of thing. But Gradient Descent is a real intriguing thing. I have read this. I've not run it yet because it's kind of a campaign. Even though it's 64 pages, it's basically a mega dungeon. There's not really maps in it. It's sort of there are guidelines to generate maps, but it is a set in an abandoned android factory controlled by a rogue AI known as Monarch. And the fun thing about Gradient Descent is there are special rules that, like, there's a lot of androids and replicants running around, and the longer you spin in it, the more likely, like, have I been replaced with an android? And so, and there's different outcomes where you actually do get replaced, or you just think you've been replaced, and all kinds of really fun mechanics for that.
I'm trying to remember who it was who had talked about being in a game with Sandy Peterson, and he's like, the most upset I ever saw anyone get in a tabletop role-playing game was this character who found, and they're playing this game with pod people and body doubles, and the character gets a cut on his hand and it doesn't bleed. It's just undifferentiated tissue throughout like a potato. And the guy was just really upset. He's like, no, I don't want to be a potato man.
That's really interesting. I had a prototype game I was testing in the late 90s or early 2000s called Bulletproof, in which the big reveal after 10 sessions, after 3 or 4 sessions, is that it's Marvel Man, basically, or Miracle Man. It's basically, you are not who you think you are. You are your memories implanted in a body that has been built from alien tissue in the present day. Everything else is pretty much normal, except the real you is still out there and walking around. And about half the group just went, I don't want to play this anymore. I don't want to be. And one of them, it was when I said, you're just basically muscle. There's nothing else in there. There's no reproductive system. And he went, what? And I went, you're impotent. You're just muscle. He went, and we never played another session of it. Really interesting reaction. It's interesting.
They never met their original selves and got to make out.
The start is you see your original. You realize that your original self exists. You glimpse them, and it's interesting. I was expecting at least one of them to go and have a conversation. No, they ran. They all ran. Really interesting. I may go back to it at some point. I was really pleased with the conceit. Yeah. That's a talk for another time. We're on limited time.
It'll probably come up when we do that episode. I feel like. Maybe, possibly.
I do have a limited number of wells I keep going back to.
Yeah. Well, you find a really good well and you stick to it. Why would you look for other wells? Just keep going back to the same one.
It could be a dead cat down there for all you know.
Yeah.
Gives it flavor.
But yeah, sticking with blue collar sci-fi horror, Alien, the RPG, has their own scenarios, and I've run this one. And it's very good. Alien RPG is similar to Mothership in what it kind of covers, but it has very different mechanics. It uses the D6 pool system that all the Free League games do. I'm blanking on Year Zero. And Charity of the Gods also, one of the things I really like about this scenario is you encounter the xenomorph, roll on this table. and like 4 of them are like, you just die, and here's how you die. It's horrible. Like it just so it's not like a lot of horror RPGs are like, oh, the monster can do this, it can do this, and do this. And like it gives it stats comparable to player character. Now it might have better stats, but like, you know, GMs just tend to roll shit when you're like, aha, I need to kill the characters. The Alien's like, nah, it's just, you're just gonna die, man. It's gonna be bad. You don't want to fight this fucking thing.
2 out of those 6 options.
Yeah, it's like you lose a limb, or you lose your weapon, or you run away. Like, it's never great. Like, unless you can shoot it from a distance with like a flamethrower or something, you're just fucking dead. And that's how it should be. Like, if people are like, yeah, let's get the fuck away from that.
I mean, that was the entire plot of the second movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, it has pre-generated characters, it has maps, and yeah, it's a really well-designed scenario and quite fun. So I'm looking forward. It'd be interesting, especially to see that treatment of like the same genre but with very different approaches, because this is like a big,
we should do those back to back.
Yeah, now that I think about it, yeah.
The other thought I had is, you know, we should get drive-through. If all of these are on drive-through, we should get drive-through to like do a bundle of them.
Ooh,
just
yeah,
just because the
I've
idea.
been talking to drive-through about some stuff. I'll mention it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a.
All the publishers would need to buy in.
Podcast and had a ton of cash making my pockets sag and pulling my pants down, I'd be like, oh, this will be convenient.
So
yeah, every now and then I have the interesting idea.
So I don't have this one. This last one though is going to be a little harder to find because it was an Unspeakable Oath number 10. And this is a scenario I think has been floating around the internet for a while. And I could just talk to Tynes. John's got Tynes. It's in medias res from Unspeakable Oath number 10. This is a very well-known scenario because you're playing escaped prisoners, and yeah, there you go. Yeah, Greg Salad's copy.
Hell yeah. And Somatics cover.
Yeah. It's a very short scenario to do.
I get rid of that.
But it's very experimental because you're playing killers and you don't have exact memories of what happened, why you wake up in a house, and some of you are covered in blood, and like what's going on. And there's sort of like a very interesting interpretive role-playing mechanics about like what this means, and sort of it's almost using Call of Cthulhu as like a storytelling game rather than like a trad RPG. And yeah, I quite so yeah, it'll be a little difficult to find it, but issues are still floating around on eBay and whatnot. So
what are you talking about, man? It's not that.
Right. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah. I'll simply go to everyone has one in their bookshelf. I think I remember I had it at once point. I think I lost my copy of that. But anyways,
well,
I'll have to look.
That's just poor archiving.
Yeah, it really is.
I do not have a lot of space to throw stones, except that I have been, I think, pretty good. There's some game lines where I'm like, okay, this is going to be the shelf where Call of Cthulhu lives, and I'll keep all my Call of Cthulhu stuff on this shelf. And then if I'm looking for a Call of Cthulhu thing, I'll know which shelf it's on.
Yeah, no, I mean I do that too, but like at this point I had to box some
lost in the move, huh?
Yeah, well, they're in a store, they're in the garage somewhere. And I have a storage unit too at this point. It's just Anyway, but we're moving on.
No such thing.
Yep. To the supplements, because that's sort of the other category of role-playing books, right? The giant ass, they cover a variety of topics, but this one is also not going to be a big surprise for people. Delta Green Countdown. Yeah. Certainly we're going to be one of the longer books we've read for this season. But it's an excellent, it is what gave me my love of Carcosa and the King in Yellow. The Haster mechanics. Yeah, I have a copy too. And you can get it now on PDF and print on demand. So it's now back in print.
We're going to read or just reread, Ross?
Yeah, well, yeah, reread for me for sure. And it kind of is a sort of a gold standard of how you treat like describing factions and for a setting, and because it has different factions in it that you can integrate in different adventures, and also like how it describes the beginnings of what would later be called surreal horror in possible landscapes. It's kind of interesting. Dennis Atwiller in particular has been working on this same theme and same ideas for decades, and you can kind of see the beginnings of it here, and then it culminates in Impossible Landscapes,
which I still haven't read, because there's a part of me that's like, I could get to play in that someday.
Yeah. I do want to rerun it, Greg, but it'll be a couple years before I'm ready to run it again.
By then I'll be so old then, Ross.
Well, all right, you find 3 other people who could do it, and then we'll talk. I need
3 other old men. Okay.
No, I didn't say 3 old men. It's just 3 players, 3 other players.
Oh, okay.
2 other players will do it. Yeah.
Well then.
Yeah. And then a supplement for a book we covered, I believe, in season 1. Which actually had a very strong start. I was a bit surprised by this. I knew
Black Agents.
Double Tap has additional rules, different mechanics, new maneuvers, guns. We love guns.
Anyway, but because you demanded it, gamers do.
Yeah, new monsters.
Some gamers. Yeah.
It's kind of like the sort of. I like this because it has a little bit of everything, just more stuff for your game.
Right.
Yeah. And that's
I am a sucker for a grab bag supplement, because I like making grab bag supplements. Over at Termination Shock, right? We've had this monthly Patreon, and every month we put out something, often for Termination Shock. Sometimes it's other stuff, but yeah, we're like, oh, we should just get all these together, slap a cover on them, and have, a book. So
it works.
It's nice.
Let's see here. 3 players. 3 players and a whole lot of free time to get through the campaign. Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's not Enemy Within. I mean, geez, I saw people like Enemy Within. Oh yeah, we did in like 6 years. It wasn't too bad. It's like Jesus. Like I did it in like 6 months. I did Impossible Landscape.
That seems like a low hurdle.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't take as long as the Enemy Within. It doesn't take as long as the Great Pendragon campaign. It's not a long campaign.
Yeah, it's fine.
No, it can still be a long campaign without being as long.
Hardly an inconvenience.
Incidentally, my apologies if I keep looking over that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've said, Mike, this is my home office. It's a shed at the bottom of the garden. It has glass doors. The cat is currently going against the glass door. It can't understand why I'm out here at 11:30 at night, and it wants to come in, and then it'll want to go out again, and I'm not having any of that bullshit. So, but it keeps making noises, and that's why I'm distracted.
I'm sure he's a very good cat.
He's an arsehole.
Tomato. And
Callum and Patrick Fez have both met him, I believe. Or at least he's wandered through the room when we've been gaming.
Still better than Campaign for North Africa. Yes, we do not have 10 years of real life to run a war game. Geez, we don't have 20
long
people.
Did the real Campaign for North Africa last?
It's 1,500 hours. It's 1,500 hours, not counting setup time. Is what it's rated for, and it requires like 2 teams of 5 or 10. It requires either 10 or 20 people to play.
No. How many hours did the actual campaign for?
In the war, I mean, a couple of years. So yeah, he stole my dinner and bullied me. Oh, good job.
It sounds like a typical cat.
Yeah. So our next supplement is
outside cereal killing birds that it's not even going to eat.
Yep. Our next supplement is going to be trabajo, which is a Spanish word for work. And that was the name of the enclave for the Red Markets campaign I ran called Fallen Flag, where Caleb wanted me, even though he wrote the game, he wanted me to run it so he could experience it as a player. And this is on RPPR Actual Play, and it's sort of the second campaign ever of Red Markets. And sort of with the rules to make sure it actually worked. And so I wrote up the campaign. I used it set in Colorado. It's sort of like at a train yard near a meat packing plant. And so yeah, it's a little city supplement essentially to describe what it is structured for red markets as a game. And so let's see here. So yeah, we get to review another one of my books. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Did you use the future conditional in it, Ross?
I probably.
We'll find out.
This I'm sure I did. This is before I was it was added to the catalog in
back when you were still a sinner.
Yeah, still when I was a sinner. Before I saw the light. You showed me the light, Greg, but that was yeah. And then we have a book, I think I mean, I'm really interested in this one. Grogs. Yeah. Which is certainly one of the elements of Ars Magica I really like.
I mean, there's a little bit of, I mean, Grogs are great and cool and a fun addition to the game, but how much can you write about them?
Yeah, I mean, how many different ways are there to blend rum and water?
The kind of the shtick of Grogs is that they don't have all the cool stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's why they get a whole book. Yeah. Grogs hold power their own, a power that's often underestimated. Advice and mechanics designed to make the most of Grog characters. Grogs in a covenant. Grogs alone. Grogs in story, creating and maintaining Grogs. New virtues and flaws, and Grog templates. Yeah, Ars Magica has a ton of supplements, but I wanted something that I picked that one because that seemed thematically one of the most interesting ones. Because the others, like these wizards, and hey, how about these wizards? Guess what? There's more wizards in this book.
Yeah. The fans just start banging their fists on the table, chanting "Wizards, wizards, wizards."
I mean, for a one shot, I'll play test your game while you join us to play. Yeah, message me. We'll work something out. I'm a mercenary. I'll do it. Let's see here. The one from Irish Magic Make. Don't question the reason behind supplements to game designers. Yeah, I got to make money. Exactly. See, yeah. And then what is our last one? No, we got two more. And let's see here. This will be quite fun. And here it is. This is another one I know V will be interested in seeing us discuss.
Chicago by Night.
Yep, it is a big setting book. And the history of Chicago, introduction to it, and yeah, lots of cool stuff. Do a whole campaign in it. So big Windy City stuff. Yeah, I've not read a whole lot in the Vampire City books. I've only kind of glanced through those, so that'll be interesting to actually do a deep dive on it and see what's different about it. Because I remember Vampire back in the days where it's all meta plot and like, oh yeah, we also have a Rasputin in this book. No, the real Rasputin's in this book. Yeah. I've definitely read through part of that one. I remember that cover. But let's see, the pockets go all the way through. Yeah, my RPG pockets. All right, so now we have
the bottomless RPG pocket where you drop your money and it's gone forever. Yeah.
No.
Sometimes it's like that.
Let's see here, make sure I get on the right one. All right, yep. And then finally, for one of the new games we're going to be reviewing this season, Black Chrome, which is I wanted at least one like item book. Like that's why I put several in here, and because like players love them. This is like
they're hard to write well. They are hard to write.
Oh god,
yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, because like 170 items. Yeah.
It's essentially it's magic items pretty much.
But yeah, some of them
are all the same niche.
We'll see what percentage of them suck.
Yeah, that's why I put in like the Book of
I don't want to sound cynical, but
that's why I put in at least one other one. I know I put in the Book of Ludon that things people could vote for, but This is like players. I know a lot of players are more into gaming to make characters and to like look through gear guides to build their coolest little guy with all the coolest items, and that's just fun as a solo thing. One of my friends loves making characters for RPGs. It's just kind of a fun like pastime, and I know he's spent many hours looking through gear guides to look through that. But yeah,
the next step, you've got to get him coming up with stories about these characters and then writing those stories down in an evocative way, and you'll have created a novelist.
Well, I've tried to get him to write more. He's a good writer, but he's just he's so shy about his writing. This is Tom. I'm talking about Tom. And he's just like, come on, Tom, write that scenario you read for PPR is really good. You should write it up. It's like, and then never does.
NPC box. It's very similar. It's just writing the same thing but different over and over again. It's like designing spell lists for fantasy games. I've batted on about this before. I'm so sick of reading spell lists for fantasy games because 95% of them are all the friggin' same. It's just, we've been here so many times. How many times do you need to rewrite the fireball?
The challenge, this is what I found writing the gear for termination check. I'm like, I want something that I haven't seen 17 different ways already. One of the ones I kind of like is, a thing called safety sauce. And what it is it basically looks like a sauce packet, and then you open it and spray it on fire, and it's a one-use fire extinguisher. And it's endothermic, so it will cool things down too. And can like seal breaches in between areas of different pressure. So it's like, yes, this is something you are going to want to have, but you don't know you want to have it until you read about it.
I think
all right,
until you need it.
I'm just going back to double tap because I think that's part of the thing is because you demanded a big list of guns, but also lots of more gun gadgets from the corner shot to UV emitting bullets to net grenades. So it's like new functionality, like something that's actually not just different numbers. Like, I mean, there's some value in RPGs that like do the math work, right? Like of making your lightning ball equal to your ice ball equal to your fireball, and figuring out all the stats, and so you don't have to, or doing monster stats or NPC stats, all that grunt work that you don't want to do. But like things that have creative ideas, like a corner shot, something so you can shoot around corners. That's cool. How does that work in the game? And you don't have to,
probably the way it works in life, very badly.
And it's disguised as a kitten.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen that. But that's the 18 books we're going to be doing as our core for the season. I'll make a post tomorrow with all these written out, and that'll be on the Kickstarter, and we'll put it up as a pin thing on the Discord. But we also
but wait, there's more.
There's more. We did get to the last stretch.
It's weird givers.
Yeah. We had the last stretch goal, which was each of us gets to curate an episode. And so do you want to reveal it now? Do you want to commit to what you want to do, or do you want to think about it some more? Because I'm ready to commit.
I can't even remember if I said one. I don't think I've made a decision. I'm like, I'll sleep on it. I'll think about it.
You did mention a book in our chat channel about it, Greg. I don't know if you want to stick to that one. But James, you want to go first?
Yeah, why not? There's been some talk recently. I mean, everyone knows, I assume everyone in the channel knows about the OSR and all of that. There's been some talk recently on Blue Sky Place about the BOSR, the British old school revival, because British role-playing in the 70s and 80s, the systems that were coming out were different. They're derived from D&D, obviously, but not mechanically the same. And I wanted to pick up on one that I think is interesting for two reasons. Personally, for me, because I was at school with the author. He remains a friend, though we're not in contact a lot. And secondly, because I think it was way ahead of its time. This is Maelstrom. This is the original edition published by Puffin, a division of Penguin Books. Yes, the Penguin Books.
Dang.
It's written by, at the time, I think he was 17. It contains one of the best magic systems I've ever seen. No spell lists, nothing. This is 1983, 1984, way ahead of its time. Really smart. It's also set in Tudor England. The core book contains no monsters. My first professional piece of games writing was how do you do animals and monsters in Maelstrom, and that was published in Warlock magazine. So it's dear to my heart, and I have run a campaign of it. I don't think you have to drink for that one, running a campaign. For me, running a campaign or something, possibly get up off the chair, off the floor in surprise. But I still think it's really tough. It is still available. There's a new edition. It's been rewritten and expanded somewhat. But I just think looking at this snapshot of how things could have been different, it was not a big hit when it came out, for reasons that we'll go into in the episode. But I think it's a really, for a whole bunch of directions that the role-playing industry didn't go, like kind of historical backgrounds rather than fantastic backgrounds. Yep, there's magic in there. Tight little packages, that is all you need to play, really. And you can play a long campaign of it. And it's really fun. And I am looking forward to talking about that and talking to you guys about it and seeing how you think it shapes up against what was coming out in the States at a similar time.
Yeah, no, I mean it was light years ahead of what we were facing in the States here, because back in the 80s, we had the what do we have? We had
well, West End was doing cool stuff, but Palladium was doing stuff, and TSR was just plowing on with AD&D.
Yeah, so back in America, what we had as a side alternative to D&D was Rifts.
Rifts was 89, I think.
But the Palladium mega system. So I am going to choose Palladium Rifts because it is the thinking man's game, as Kevin Simieta says, and. Great. It is still around, like it is actively being published, and it is fascinating to talk about because why does it do as well? Why is it done? Like there are virtues to it. Like I'm having fun playing a game set in Rifts using the Savage Worlds rules, as I'm saying. I often say this is the kitchen sink of adolescent power fantasies. It has everything. Sure. You got everything in there, and it has some original ideas in it. Like I love the novelty of how vampires are killed in Rifts because moving water hurts them. So you just hit them with a squirt gun, like that will melt a vampire, or use water balloons, or any moving water will work. Where a fire truck is the most deadly vampire fighting weapon you can imagine, and it's so silly.
The fire and vampire department. That's great.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And
if it's red and kills you, we're on the job.
There we go.
Wow. I'm trying to go somewhere with steak and something being surf and turf, and I'm not getting the joke is not coming, but. You see where I'm going.
We got time. We got time before we do the episode.
They're just the aliens from Signs. Oh no.
That's true. Yeah. And there's dozens of books for it. And so, like, why is Rifts? Why is it just the way it is? It is.
I mean, that's just the title of the episode. Why is Rifts?
Why is Rifts? Yeah.
Yes.
Like talking about the system, which is just has stood nearly unchanged since the 80s, and people still play it, or maybe. I mean, that's another thing to talk about. Like, I think no one plays Rifts as is. Everyone house rules it, and they just that's just how it is. And yet people keep buying it. And and there's something to it.
How is Rift, and you can too. I think people do play it, and I think they do play it, and I think it's a bit like D&D. They're not part of the role-playing mainstream. What we think of the role-playing mainstream, the role-playing mainstream is actually D&D, and it's over there. Then there's us, and then there's Rifts over here. And it's an entirely separate river of players. It's a different ecosystem. It doesn't intersect with us and our stuff. So
those
we don't
Andean
think
Mesa
right.
microbiomes.
Yeah, island evolution, but it's just the Midwest, just Michigan, man, and everything around it. Yeah, it's fascinating. So yeah, it's worth talking about. I famously ran a one shot of Rifts for RPPR, and I got my friend Caleb, author of Red Markets, on it, and he was so angry just making his character. He was so infuriated by the system.
I have a Rift supplement. I wrote a Rift supplement, which is still in print. I don't.
Yeah.
Kevin has decided I don't get any royalties on it anymore for reasons that are unclear.
Oh, we'll talk about Kevin too. We need to talk
about Kevin. Let's talk about yes, we should talk about Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something about Kevin.
So I'm not completely positive. We'll see how worn down I am by ingesting bunches and bunches of new systems.
Yeah.
But an old system I'm thinking about doing for my curated one is Feng Shui by Robin Laws, which I was the developer of for a while, and it was, which gave me the valuable insight that I am better at writing and designing than I am being a developer. So, we got an ooh for Feng Shui, or Feng Shui, if you pronounce it the correct non-American way, but will be, So, yep.
Yeah, it is. I've run it before. I actually ran a game using that system set in Hotline, inspired by the video game Hotline Miami, which is extremely a frenetic action game, which was inspired by movies like Drive and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a very fun system. Really interesting. I really like that you just pick a template and then just go from there. You don't make a character from scratch. It's just like, you're this type of person. This is the archetype of ass kicker you are. Give them a name and a look, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
Here's your trope. Bang.
Yeah. Here's your trope. Go for it. Yeah. Good luck, buddy. Yeah. So I would
Gunner sword. Excuse me. Gunner sword.
Yeah. That's really what it comes down to. And
can I be some kind of cybernetic gorilla? Fine. Next player. Gunner sword.
Gunner sword. But yeah, then we have our curated episodes that are chosen by our backers. Like I said, there are the couple that are Kvetch is sponsoring. And he actually just messaged me to let me know he has 2 copies of Maelstrom that he'd be happy to mail to me and Greg.
What a guy.
Well, again, are we going to talk about the 80s one, or are we going to talk about the current edition? I can't remember who publishes it, but
it's your choice, actually, James. You could do
in keeping with the thing, I will talk about the 80s one and the impact it had, which was nothing. But I think we should talk about the up-to-date one.
Okay. Yeah.
Really, because issues of availability, and you need to, the rest of you need to know what we're talking about.
Has to be
and also, it is 2024. We should talk about what is currently available.
Yeah. I know with Rifts, there's like an ultimate Rifts thing, which is got some so I'll find the PDF of that and we'll talk about that. And then there's a second edition of Feng Shui. And what else?
We'll be talking about the second edition, not the edition I developed.
Okay.
Because I got 3 different, and Feng Shui 2 is really kind of a third edition. Second, there was the first printing, the Daedalus printing with the well-executed cover that didn't make any physical sense. Then there was the Atlas printing, and here's the second Atlas version. So it's wild.
Atlas, yes, or John Peregrine's Home for I've forgotten the name of the movie now. For
wayward
unwanted wayward role-playing games. Yeah, he does an amazing job of picking up great games that other publishers have not done well with, and just keeping them around and doing a good job with them.
Nice.
I am.
Other than Unknown Armies, Feng Shui, and Ars Magica, what other role-playing games has he rescued?
Only 3. Three legends.
There must be at least another one.
Yeah. Well, there's still time. So, I do want to mention what other games. I'll mention some of the other games I was thinking of before I picked Rifts, and I of course was being silly, and I thought briefly about the Worlds of Cinnabar first edition, which is a very silly game, but I also considered a Phoenix Command, but I decided not to do that because
you have some shred of mercy left.
Yeah, well, I realized I would have to read it too, and I couldn't. I don't want to inflict that on myself. So World of Cinnabar is a very silly game done by Ray McCracken, and I've talked about it in RPPR multiple times. It's very, it's just ridiculous.
Okay, so why has Rifts got momentum and Cinnabar doesn't?
Well, one, I've talked about Cinnabar on RPPR like multiple times, and I haven't really like dived into the Palladium mechanics, except briefly through that one actual play I did like a decade ago. And Rifts is still around. It's still being published. It's still in print. Like, it's still got this fan base, and they're still making new content for it. And I've been playing, and recently I've been playing the Savage Rifts, setting, so I've been thinking about Rifts. So it's really those things that Rifts is like. Cinnabar's out. The first edition of Cinnabar's out of print. Second edition was nonsense. And Phoenix Command is, of course, way out of print, and you have to. Yeah, Phoenix Command is atrocious because it has. If you're not familiar, it's a gun-toting game about being a gun guy shooting other people, but there's a piece of art I really like. Someone did for it for a review that's very funny, which is sort of the reaction to, like, it has windage rules for like shooting, and there's a crosswind, and like it has like charts to you figure out how to roll. Like, you shoot a shotgun at someone, you account for every pellet. If you're on a hill, an inclined plane, how would that affect your aim? It has rules for that. Like, that's the level of measuring your trajectory for every single bullet you fire. Like,
this sounds like if you took a Venn diagram of people with obsessive compulsive behavior and masochists.
Yeah,
this would exist in the overlap.
Like Living Steel, the RPG from the 80s, uses the Phoenix Command system, but simplified. So I thought about that. And I think there was a Terminator RPG from the 80s that used a similar version. But yeah, it's ridiculous. So those, I briefly considered those, but I was like, no. And I also, I considered a good game, Monsters and Other Childish Things, which I really love. And is One Roll Engine, and like is the first game I published for. My first book is a Monsters campaign setting.
Never forget your first time.
No, you never forget.
No, particularly not if Kevin Simbida published it.
Oh no, yeah. I decided Rifts would be a more lively discussion, because Monster would be like, yeah, it's great, it's cool, it's neat, I like the idea, but like Rifts is like, there's real meat in that discussion.
You can find out how Greg reacts to seeing his girlfriend dance with another guy. So
no. So
there's
James,
a little bit of that feeling.
What were some of the runners up to your curated episode?
I thought long and hard. I almost went with West End Star Wars. The Greg Kostikian's game from the 1985 or 1986, I think, because it's 20th. I think it's 10th anniversary of the release of the original Star Wars, which is a masterpiece on every single level. But the trouble is, I haven't actually looked at it in a long time, and I am completely unconversant with all the Star Wars games that have come since. And I think we would need to discuss those as well. You can't discuss it just on its own. And I don't particularly want to read all the FFG stuff. I have an allergy to those dice. And I thought about Ghostbusters, but the trouble is Ghostbusters is completely, which is essentially the precursor. It's the mechanical forebear of Star Wars. It's Greg Kostikian. Again, for those who don't know it, it was a West End game. The core design was by Greg Stafford, Lynn Willis, and one other of the Chaosium crew, not Sandy Peterson, unfortunately, and then edited by Greg Stafford. And it is a masterpiece. It is also completely unavailable and very, very expensive to buy, which makes it unfair for the rest of you, because you are very unlikely to ever see a copy, let alone own one. But it is completely brilliant and remains one of my favorite games of all time.
Do I want to buy a copy of the Ghostbusters role-playing game or refinish all the floors in my house?
It's a bit like that. Yeah.
If you can find it, like it's just hard to find. Like it doesn't pop up that much, I think.
Yeah. This. I should say, if you're in in a rare game shop and you see a copy and it says Ghostbusters GBI, wrong. That is the sequel. It's nowhere. They committed the cardinal error of taking a simple game and adding more rules to it, which that's not what you do. The line I quote an awful lot, and particularly in my game design workshops, is the Antoine de Saint-Exupéry line: perfection is achieved not when there is nothing left to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. And the Ghostbusters system is so beautifully stripped down and stripped back that what it does is it gives you room to make and it gives you the structure for the player characters to be funny with within the system. It sets up jokes for you to then deliver the punchlines. It's just great.
Wow. That's the grail right there.
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit. There's a copy on eBay UK for 25 quid right now. Buy it now. Ooh. Oh, box only. Box only for £25. Okay, don't buy that. I very nearly hit buy it now incredibly quickly.
Jeez, yeah, gotta watch that description.
Oh, I mean, someone just mentioned Noblest Second Edition, and there's a part of me that's like, or I could just have my curated one be the Far Roofs, which is
the one that's out yet, or is that out yet, or is
not out yet?
Okay,
Kickstarter's closed, I think.
But what was? I mean, it's like I could do anything.
Glitch, the one that comes in, or Kubo.
Oh yeah,
Cuba was on the list.
I'll think about it. I'll keep you all on tenterhooks.
Okay. All right. So tentatively, it's feng shui, but we'll see.
Unless I change my mind, because
until we get to that point in the season, you don't have to fully commit. I mean, I know it's going to be riffs. It's like that's going to be a. For me, that's going to be a fun episode to do. It's going to be lively. Yeah, I'll get it. I'll drink for that.
DICING.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Yeah, I know I want to bring up Bill Coffin's stories of working for Palladium in the offices, which were posted to RPGNet years ago, and they're live in my brain rent free. And it's not like horribly bad. It's just like, holy shit, he really is like that, huh?
Yep.
Anyway, but I think we have a really great season. We have a really James, Greg, and I are going to have a talk about scheduling and figuring out what sort of order.
A long, painful talk.
We don't have to do it all at once, but maybe we'll do it
like when you're summoned to the headmaster's study.
Yeah,
the principal's office for your girlfriend saying it's not working out was painful. No, getting 3 adults to schedule gaming stuff, that's painful.
It is, but we got to get started sooner.
Not quite to living with lupus levels, but
don't forget to join our Discord if you haven't already. I think most of the people in chat already have. But if you're listening to this like later on, because I will be posting this to our podcast feed, be sure to join our Discord so you can vote. I'll try and get this episode up tomorrow, the 29th. So we can all so you can vote in our because again, Kvetch has super generous. Is going to be letting the community pick a couple of more episodes for us to do, and some really good titles. I'm sure we'll be doing Dogs in the Vineyard because that's a fascinating game to talk about, and a lot of people voted for it. And there's a generic version of it now called Dogs, but like, why is there a generic version? Well, we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the mechanics, we'll talk about the setting, we'll talk about why Vincent Baker doesn't allow dogs to be sold anymore, because fascinating conversation there. And but what else? We'll find out. We'll nail down our choices from the high level backers who helped make this season possible. Thank you again so much. And then we'll just kind of dig down into it. and figure it out. But yeah, 18 really good books to review. I'm really looking forward to all of them. I'm sure we'll do Heart first, since that's the highest rated core book. And Heart is just a fun read, beautiful artwork, really cool setting, really cool mechanics, and it'll be good. But now comes the part where we do all the work. So the part. We've all been kind of like, we're in a podcast, we don't have to do anything for a while. Then we're getting money for it. And then it's like, oh no, we have to work for a while. And
the live streams as well, of course.
So we'll for future topics for live streams, we'll kind of play it by ears. I know for at least some of them I want to review some new RPGs I've gotten. Like I recently got the Mothership box set, which is a very cool little book here. Let me put it.
It's glitching out.
So it looks very cool, and it looks very fun. And what else? I also got a copy of Fabula Ultima, which is like a JRPG RPG. Has all kinds of interesting things like little anime boys.
Whatever.
So we'll probably do that for some live streams, but we'll talk about it.
We could do a live stream about the games I've written and not published that are sort of wending their way through this and that. So
there we go.
Because I got 2 of them.
There you go.
I think cool new stuff, and stuff that crosses our horizon. I would really like to talk about a game I picked up recently called Hieronymus, which is set within the paintings of Hieronymus Bosch. And it's a hex crawl. It's quite odd, as you would hope. It's not. Is it as odd as one wants? Let's talk about it.
Can I play as a little rat-faced dude?
Can you? You better be able to. I want to. I so want to do that. I've seen that. I haven't. I know the book you're talking about. I've seen that floated around, and that looks really cool. So we'll come up with cool topics for every live stream. But they'll be like this, and we'll do. We'll set up a schedule for those too. We'll try and give more notice in advance, and maybe maybe give a couple months in advance, so there's plenty of time for you to do that. And I'll schedule them on Twitch too.
You want to play a game where you're just a butt in a helmet with a severed foot hanging off it?
I mean, that sounds fun as hell. I love that.
I've had less functional player characters before now.
I'm at the point where I just want to see the cool stuff happen in the games. I'm not that attached to my player characters. I remember running Delta Green for patrons a couple months ago, and they're like, all right, you did the core mission, you can get out here, but you know where the missing agent was taken, and you think the monsters down those stairs over there. You're like, no, that's okay, we don't want to go. And I was like, it's a one shot. Just go see what the monster is. Don't you want to see the cool things? The monster, he has a whole special attack. No, okay, all right. If you go to the monster game and you don't go see the monster, what's the point?
I mean, something that there, V's got it. V knows. One-shot characters should be driven like you stole them.
Exactly.
At one time, I tried to structure, Delta Green specifically as, okay, except that your character is destined to have an encounter with a nightmarish reality. Mm-hmm. All the investigation is going to do, if you do the investigation well, you may be equipped to survive and or limit the horror. If you do the investigation poorly, you're just going to go in there blind and greased up. You're going to have nothing.
Yeah. See, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I understand that in a campaign, because you want to have your little guy get as far as you can, but it's a one shot, but anyways, but on the other hand, it was at least the players were now spooked enough that they were didn't want to go see the mod. Okay, well, at least my job was done. They were spooked enough. So
I mean, this is there's it's a weird thing in gaming to deal with the problem of players who don't want to engage with, you know, with what the game's about. It's like, I want to play Delta Green, but I don't want to work for the government or investigate horrible cosmic entities. It's like, it sounds like maybe you don't actually want to play Delta Green.
I mean, I understand not being a cop.
It's like you take those out, and all that's left is a skeletonized percentile system.
Yeah. Well, that's topics for future episodes or live stream. But again, thank you all so much for backing the Kickstarter. We are on the job now, and we will start scheduling episodes and take it from there. We'll give you updates as we figure things out. And but yeah, and once we get the first episode of season 3 done, I'll get the RSS feed out to everybody. And if you missed the Kickstarter, we'll have a way for you to get access to that private feed, so you can
just one thing, Ross, I should probably do this in the cast chat, but some people were saying that the YouTube versions of these live streams were not showing up on the RSS feed, so we should probably make sure they go there as well.
I'll have to double check that. Yeah, what I do is I grab the MP3 and put it on there. So if it's not showing up, that's I'll have to double check that. That's weird. Okay, yeah. I'll have to if it's not going to go up on the private season 2 feed. It'll go up on the public feed, which may be their problem. The Spotify
I think
feed.
That was it.
Yeah. So I forgot to update the private feed, but yeah. Oh well.
I will remind you.
Yes. Thank you. Anyways, thank you all so much, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right.
Night all.